Hello, welcome back to JJ's Bakehouse. I'm Ginny and today we are going to do cookies. So I'm going to show you that to do the cookies that I use, my recipe is just one recipe and then I add bits to it. So I'm going to show you the base recipe and then we're going to add little bits to it to show you how versatile it is and how to get those really nice cookies. Also, I'm not going to use a mixer or anything to show you just how simple this is to put it together. So we need a bowl, so get my bowl. Right, now I have got everything in front of me just here that you need. I've got some hazelnuts because I'm going to do a hazelnut one as well. I'm just going to pop this to the side just for a second because I don't want to get confused and I don't want that yet. Right, so to begin with, we're going to use sugar. Now I've got 200 grams of brown sugar here and 100 grams of caster sugar. And that goes in, and that is along with 210 grams of unsalted block butter. I don't use the margarines for this is block butter. So that's all melted, and then we can just give this a good stir. So I've got a whisk, and a little bit of elbow grease. Here we go. Oh, I've got a really big black bit from the sugar in there, so I'll get rid of that. Don't want that in there, no one wants that. Now if you want to do this with a mixer you can, but I'm not overly bothered. I'm happy. It doesn't take 2 minutes. You're not going to get a lot of air in there because you've melted it, so there's nothing for the air to sit in. You're just combining it, and that's why I'm not using a mixer. Right, so I've got my ingredients down here and I'm reading them out to you. So then I'm going to add everything else into this. So next I'm going to add in my flour, or actually let's do the egg first. I've got one large egg. Let's just give that a mixing because it's going to make it easier. There we go. Don't mix egg too much because it just doesn't like being mixed that much. Right, then I've got 250, I think, I do. I have 250 grams of plain flour, and then along with that in here I've got a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of bicarb and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and that is all going in as well. And then I've also got a good heaped tablespoon of corn flour, and that really makes a big difference to this. It gives it a really chewy texture, so the corn flour is really important. So right, get that in, and then back in my arms. Okay, just give this a good mix together. Get in there, get in there, get in there. Right, oh, and there we go. Comes together really good, well, really easily, and it's quite gloopy, if you can see. That's the way we want that as well. Okay, now I've got 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract, so that's going in as well. And then I've got chocolate chips. Now I have got to make a slight difference here because my daughter hates chocolate chips, and I promised her I'll do a couple of these with her. So let me grab some gloves. 1 second and I'll be straight back. Got my gloves. You don't need gloves, but I just much rather it. I don't like the feel of it. So put them on properly. Okay, let's knock this out. We don't want to waste any. Don't need the whisk anymore. There we go. That'll do. Okay. Stay. Right, so now it's all incorporated, all my ingredients are in there, so I'm going to take some of this and just roll it into a ball like this, and then pop it on, there we go, I'll pop it onto a plate with parchment. That's around about the size I've gone to, a bit bigger than a golf ball. You can do them smaller, my kids love big cookies. They don't like them when they're little. I think it makes them feel better. They say they've only had one. Right. So I'll give her 3. Probably 2 actually. I'll give her 2, that's enough. Right, then we've got chocolate chips. So you can put in what you like. You can put in plain chocolate, milk chocolate, anything. I've got a mix of white and milk here, and that's 200 grams. And chop them in, and being as I've got gloves on, I may as well just use my hands. And then I'm just going to mix all this up with my hands. Now this recipe can also be used for raw cookie dough. Now, to make raw cookie dough, you just need, before you put the flour in, you need to bake the flour. So you put the flour into the oven on about 170 for about 5 minutes, and that will then bring that flour to temperature, and then it makes it edible. You've cooked the flour, and it's the flour that's the issue. So if you wanted to make raw cookie dough, I'll write in underneath, if you want to use this recipe for raw cookie dough, I'll write in underneath how long and exactly the temperature to turn it into that instead. Right, so now I've got these gorgeous balls here. So I'm going to leave a couple of those plain. Try and get them all around about the same size. If you want to weigh them on the scales, you can, because otherwise you can have differences in your baking times. Look at that. I don't listen to my own advice, do I? There we go, happy with that one. Right, now what's the next one we're going to do? Let's do a couple more of these. So I'll do 3 of these. Right, and then I've had some Nutella in the freezer. I put balls of Nutella in there. I'm going to get those out in just a second, just because if you freeze the chocolate before you put it in the middle, it makes it all a lot easier. So I'm now taking a batch of this, making it into like a patty in my hand. Then I've got some Kinder, and I'm just going to put in some Kinder Bueno, I can never say it. Right, give this, make sure it's all completely covered. Try not to make it bigger than the others. Right, how am I doing size-wise? It's giant. Right, so there, those I'll pop in on the second batch, because I always do 2 different batches. So that's far too big. I mean, the kids are going to like it, but that's just going overboard. That's better, so I'm happy with that one. So pop that one down. I'm going to do another one. So again, just the patty out in your hand, the Kinder on the inside. You can do this with anything. You can put any kind of chocolate on the inside of these. Really nice. And if you don't want to use Nutella, just get some blocks of chocolate like this and just put some blocks one on top of the other and put those on the inside. They are going to be giant. Right, so now I'm going to just get out of the freezer the Nutella, okay? So bear with me. Right, Nutella. That's been in there for, I mean, it's not completely frozen, but it's enough that I can make a ball out of it, and so that's been in the freezer for about half an hour, so that's good enough. Right, so you can do this with or without, but because it's Nutella, I'm going to put these hazelnuts in. So I've just put 20 grams of chopped hazelnuts into my mix here. And then you can do that just on its own or with the Nutella on the inside. I love this, and the smell straight away. So, make the patty again. Take a piece of the Nutella, pop it inside, fill it all over. There we go. Oh, hang on. on, it's not completely covered. You want to be covered because otherwise you don't want it oozing out anywhere. A little bit more, like a little bandage. Right, lovely. Now you can make these smaller. I mean, this is just me. I'm just making these giant cookie thingies. Right, another one. If you wanted to add cocoa powder to this and some melted chocolate as well, you could make them double chocolate. So when you added in the butter, you could have added in some melted chocolate as well, and then a little bit of cocoa powder, and these would be like, oh, chocolate, just decadent. Once you've got the base to the cookie, you can add anything. Right, now you're probably wondering why I've put these on here like this and I've not put them in on a baking sheet. The reason being, cookies cook so much better once they've been frozen. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. These are going to go into the freezer for an hour, and then we will preheat our ovens. So I'm going to preheat my oven to 170 degrees on a fan assisted. If you're not and you're conventional, 180 degrees, and then they'll go in to bake. So I'm going to go finish off the last couple of these, and then we are going to wait an hour and I'll be straight back to you. Okay, so I've taken these out of the freezer. Just make sure you can see everything. Yeah, and then I've got 2 baking sheets here, pans just lined. So these are rock hard, just the way you want them to be. And this is just going to be so much, they're not going to just in the oven. So my oven's preheated, I'm fan 170, yours, if you're not fan assisted, should be 180. And I'm going to cook the smaller ones first. Now the smaller ones should take around about 10 minutes to do, I'll tell you exactly. Now, just so that you have an idea of what I'm doing here, I've weighed these. Each one of these big ones is around about 140 grams, and this is between 65 and 70. So by weighing them, I know that my cooking time is going to have to be nearly double for the big ones. So for the moment, I've got them out, but I am going to pop the big ones back into the freezer while these cook and not remove them until I literally need them. So let's take the smaller ones, and you don't want them to be near the edge because you want them to be able to grow. So this is why these are really good. You can just keep these in a Ziploc bag in the freezer and just take out cookies when you want them and just pop them into the oven. So you can just do 2 at a time, it's not really a hassle. So I'm going to put 3 on this one, and that's how I've got mine spaced out. That's going to have enough room there to spread, and that one, and that one. So I wouldn't put any more than that on because otherwise they're going to touch and mould in together. It's not going to be very nice. So these are the 3 that are going to go in to start with. And then I've also got these, and I'm going to do the same here, and these are all my smaller ones. Now I've got a fan assisted oven, and I can put these on the top shelf and the bottom shelf because the air is circulating around with the fan. If you don't have a fan assisted, just 1 tray in at a time, because otherwise the one that's on the top is going to stop the one underneath from cooking. So again, actually these are a little bit bigger. I'm just going to do 2, and we'll see how much they spread. So I'm going to pop these in now and tell you exactly how long they take when they come out. See you in a moment. Right, so they are out. I've put them on a tea towel just there so they don't burn. Now what I'm going to do is just transfer them. Now they took 13 minutes. They were a bit bigger than I thought. So I'm just going to pull them from the side. I've given them 1 minute in there. It's taken that long for me to get sorted. And then lift and over. And then if you can see around the outside here, they've gone brown around the outside and they're still very gooey in the middle. That's completely normal. Right, so then I'm going to put another piece onto there. Be careful because these tins are still hot. And then do the same with this one. Lift. Keep it taut when you lift. Pull apart from one another because you want to make sure that it doesn't droop. So Sorry, forgot my tea towel to pick these up. I was going to burn my hands otherwise. So we just leave these now for the moment. I'm going to leave them for around about 5 to 10 minutes, and then they'll be able to move around. Again, they're still very gooey in the middle, which is completely normal. So now we're going to put these other ones on, and these are obviously going to take even longer. So 2 of these on each. Definitely no more than that, because these are going to spread. There we are. And then we're going to pop those into the oven. Now if these took, I would say, at this size, then you would be looking between 12 and 14 minutes for these cookies. And don't forget, they were around about 65 to 70 grams in weight. So these ones here, I'm not really expecting them to be ready until about 18, 19 minutes. But I will tell you, if you go smaller again, so if you're around about 50 grams in your cookie, then I would go in for around about 10 minutes instead. So it's all dependent on your size, but I will put all this in the description box underneath so you have an idea. But as soon as they start going brown around the outside, take them out straight away. So let's put these straight in, and I'll come back to you when we get these out, and then we'll be able to have a good look at these. Right, so these are done. They're on the tray there, and these have just come out. Now I only left these in for another 2 minutes actually. So add on wherever you were last time. Mine took 15 minutes to come together. They were going brown around the outside, so you really don't want to leave them any longer than that. So I've got so these took anything you need to be between 12 to 14. These would have taken between 14 to 16. So they're not going to deflate, just open the oven and have a look and see how brown they are around the outside. So I need to take these out again. So same as before, pull it tight and transfer it over. Now these cookies aren't the really fudgy, they're not the really thick ones. If you want the really thick ones, I'm going to play around with that. That just has a lot more, the basis of it is the same, it just has more raisin agent in it, which makes them a bit more cakey. So those ones that you see that are really thick, they're more like a cakey cookie, whereas these are just cookies. So, I'm running out of room. So hot. Right, move that on there, and I've got room. Okay. So now these need to just be left. Because if you pick them up now, the middle of them is going to wilt and just not go very nice. Right, let's take one of these and we will just pull it open. Now this is one that it's just a regular chocolate chip. It doesn't have any of the extra bits inside, it doesn't have the Nutella inside, but that is how that looks there. Let me see if I push, I don't know if you can see how well you can see that, but it is a lovely, it's just like it should be. It's a lovely cookie, it's lovely and gooey, and it's just really, really nice. So that is my cookies there. So what I need to do now is leave these and come back to you when they're cool, and then we're completely done. So I will see you in a moment. Just quickly, sorry, I know I said I wasn't coming back till these were finished, but just to let you know as well, when you've used the tray for this, and then you go and put the cookies back in again for the second lot, that tray is hot, so they start cooking before you even put them into the oven there. So remember that that can take a slight little bit off of the cooking time anyway, because the tray is hot. With this one, when you put it in first, you're heating the tray as well, but this one is heated, so just be careful with that time, okay? Right, so these are cooled, and as you can see, there's a little bit of a difference in the size of these. So now we'll break one of these open. There we go. And there is that gooey Nutella on the inside. Look at that. That is so good. So that's how they look. They taste so good. So you've got the smaller ones here, you've got the larger ones here. I will be doing the thicker ones soon. I'm going to have a play around with the raisin agents and those and just make sure that I'm happy with them. But for the moment, this is a really simple recipe. Just all in one bowl, throw it all in, add in whatever you like into those. Make sure that if you do put chocolate, you freeze it if it's Nutella first. If it's not Nutella, just put a couple of blocks, so you know you get chocolate and you've got the squares. Just take 2 squares, put them on top of one another or side by side depending on how big you want them to be, and pop those inside before you put them into the freezer. And this is it. All the times and everything I will put underneath, but these were 14 to 16 minutes and these here were 12 to 14. So I hope you really enjoy them, and I don't think they're going to last long in my house. So I'll take care. I will see you soon. Bye bye.